And good evening and welcome to another edition of Life is People. Tonight we're joined by the extremely talented Outside Your House. Good evening, Alex. How are we doing?
Hey, very well, thank you. Hello.
Perfect. How are we doing tonight, Rich and Ryan?
Doing good.
Doing good, doing good.
Ryan's sounding particularly rock and roll this evening, this afternoon, so do bear with him.
Well, you saw I was up late last night.
That's rock and roll for you. So, yeah, like I said, tonight we're joined by Outside Your House, which, in order to sort of following sort of developments of this podcast and my Twitter feed will know how much I love this band. To sort of let people know, I kind of became aware of them again through the excellent, my friends, my true, colleagues and all this, the Seething Demons, and they kind of like gave me a nod. I was due to go down and see them at Halloween, but I never got around to it. Finally got down to see them at Mad Friday. One of the fantastic gig that was as well, which I'm sure we'll talk about tonight. So, and they're from Durham, which for the people listening in the USA and for Richard and Ryan is kind of north of Richmond, where the lads are from, and kind of, very beautiful part of England. It's kind of sort of a lot of historic old buildings, and it's a very kind of rugged place. Nice place. I'm sure they'll tell you more about it. So, without any sort of further ado, lads, I'd like to sort of like ask, either one of you or both of you collectively, where did this all sort of like this whole journey, from Outside Your House, where did it all begin? Is this something that you just recently done, or have you two known each other for a while? I mean, where does it all begin for you?
So I'll start it.
Yeah.
I was doing it. I gave up music for a little while, and when I kind of picked it up again, I decided I didn't want to be in a band. I didn't want to have to kind of deal with anybody else. I just wanted to see what I could come up with for a change, because I just fancied having a go at that. And I set myself a few boundaries, and I just wanted to spend as little money on instruments as I could, and see where that kind of took me. And I bought a little 8-track digi, like little 8-track, kind of really old gear really now. When I look back on it, went around some boot fairs, which is yard sales to you guys in America. I don't know if you know what boot sales are. It's just like fair people selling stuff. And I bought like a load of kind of old keyboards and stuff for like £2 and £5. And I started making stuff, and it got quite a unique sound. And I of which was into a local magazine, music magazine called Art Magazine, which is quite well known in the northeast. Johannes, I got demo of the month. They really liked it, and Johannes kind of read it. And you had been in Durham a year or two. We're not really native to Durham. I've lived here about 12 years. I don't know how long have you been here.
I moved here 2006.
Yeah, 2006. This
Yeah.
was 2010, wasn't it?
Yeah. So I picked up this kind of music paper in Newcastle. I was just out for the day, and I think it's one of those little kind of chance moments, like a sliding doors moment, if you want, where I think I probably stood aside to let someone in the toilet, and I went, oh, pick up a magazine, and if that guy hadn't been coming in at the same time, I wouldn't have picked it up. But Johnny was demo of the month. And it was MySpace days. It was like 2009, 10, around that time. So I listened to his stuff on there, messaged him, and we both really liked what each other were doing. So this was like, we worked out it was probably kind of May 2010. We met up first, and really more because we were both kind of relatively new in town. We didn't have like a base of friends. We just met up and we're friends for years, really. We had similar interests, we had similar kind of tastes and that. And it was, we've both done music. As Johnny was kind of alluding to slightly, we've done music since, we can remember, since we were early teens. But maybe being more of a part player in someone else's band where they've taken the lead.
Yeah.
And we both had then developed and had solo kind of projects, like bedroom kind of bands and things. But it was probably maybe 18 months, 2 years ago, Johnny had some of his tunes. He had one in particular that he wasn't sure where to go with. We were just chatting. I said, well, I can have a go at mixing it. So I got all the parts and kind of mixed it in a way that I didn't add anything to it other than just mixing it. But Johnny really liked it, and it got us kind of talking about what other tunes he had left. And I thought, well, I can put some words to it, and it really came from that.
Yeah.
And we just felt it had something a bit different to it. And I don't know. I think probably it's taken a good year before we put the EP out, just because we were working out what we were trying to do. You know. Still doing that.
Yeah. I went about it quite mathematically. I wanted to try and create something that was completely and utterly unique, if it was possible to do that now. You know, everybody says it kind of isn't. Everything's been done, and it kind of, to me, boiled down to what's inside the individual. Luckily enough, I kind of left. I still use all the old kind of £5 little keyboards, and we use them live, don't we? But I've kind of progressed, or maybe regressed, I don't know, into using computer. I use Ableton software now, which I really, and it's enabled me to really be myself, to put the music out. And everybody says it, you should be aiming towards that, but I really want to hear myself, you know. I don't care if it goes outside of my attic, which is where my stuff's set up, or not. I'm not too bothered about that. And it's really great the way that OIH now is, people have started to really say some really nice things and do some really nice things for us. But that's the core of it. And I mean, the way it works is I do most or all of the music, and I'll dodge it across to Johannes, and he'll put some lyrics and some words on it. So I try and create a bit of an atmosphere in maybe 2 or 3 minutes. Give it to him. He'll put a load of words that I get it back, and I probably say on Bob. I kind of go, oh, I'm panicking because this guy's a lyrical genius to me, and I need to do better with my backing track. So I kind of tend to remix that then. But I really like it because I've got words set in stone almost, and I can just then work around that. So sometimes I change it, sometimes I don't, and that's how it kind of works. And we put the stuff out, and we've had some really positive response, haven't we? I mean, really amazing, really flattered, really, because, like I said, we didn't have any intention really to take it out. We were just doing it for the fun of it, for the hell of it, really, and it seems to have just progressed on from there, and that's really nice. It's got a life of its own now, and we have become outside your house because we took it out live, and it actually exists now in the world, you know. So it's does that make any sense? Yeah, it's been a nice journey so far.
Definitely. What is it safe for me to say that you would kind of describe your music as maybe having it really reminds me of like a lounge type feel, of like a the old style of like one person on a piano and then one guy in the forefront kind of swinging the mic around, and I mean, did anybody else get that, or?
I would say that you're probably the first person that said that, but I like it.
I think Ryan's picked up on something. Yeah, it's really astute actually, because the Worms, which was my project before with all the kind of keyboard, was really quite. I like the circus sounds and the and I used to use it a lot, and it has an element of that. It really does, and lounge is actually how I described it on MySpace. It was kind of it was lounge music, you know. But so there's an element of that about it. You're absolutely spot on, yeah.
I think when we rehearse live, I often sing in a club style as well, and like hold the mic down the bottom and go, like, "Where were you from?"
I have to say, I really enjoyed the photos. The black and white photos that you have on your page are really cool. Who took those? It was awesome.
Which ones? The
black and white photos. I want to say they were on the Bandcamp page. Are they? Let me look. Anyway, they're great black and white photos. You were talking about a lounge sort of scene, and it just had a really nice ambiance. I'll look them up.
Was it when we're playing live? We're kind of in the middle of.
Oh, it was on your Facebook page. Is what it was on.
I know the one you mean, Rich. Yeah, it's actually just stills taken from a video. So
yeah, I like it.
We ran just my crappy camcorder in the corner of the rehearsal room, and Johnny just took some stills, tried to figure out if it worked. So that's why they were a bit blurry.
Hey, it works.
Grainy, it looks good.
Yeah, they did it. I was amazed how they came out. We were just videoing ourselves just to kind of self-analyze, see how it looked. But good live shots from it. Yeah, thanks.
Well, one of the, I mean, I think the word that tapped it completely. You know, I was going to definitely bring up with you guys when you were saying Reginald, it was unique, and I definitely think anyone that has taken the time to listen to any of your tunes would definitely say you're in a unique kind of bracket of music. And like you said, and we've heard this discussion many times with many musicians on this podcast, that ultimately there are X amount of notes and stuff, but it's what you do in the order that you do. Now, what I always found fascinating, and I remember the very first time, I'll tell you a bit of a story, the very first time I listened to your stuff, I listened to obviously before I got Fat EP, and I put Limbs on, and listened to it, and I listened to it all the way through it. And the first thing that kind of struck me is I thought, well, back in the day, maybe 20, 15 years ago, when it used to be a bit of a cliche that you only got maybe 30 seconds as a band to impress a record CEO or an agent or something. 30 seconds on that first demo to impress them, and that would be your style and how they would categorise you. And I thought if they did that with Limbs, they'd have no idea, because within one tune you take so many deviations and swerves, and that's what I mean about that unique sound you've got. Because you're not afraid. What I'm trying to say is you're not. It's good to hear it. It's refreshing. And I think one of the reasons you were saying about you've seen it take off. That's because you have taken those unique swerves, and you've been brave to yourself and true to yourself. You haven't and it's for someone who likes music, and I'm sure a lot of people out there would only say the same as me. It's great to hear someone who's actually got up and done that, because it's so refreshing, and it is definitely unique. And that's definitely my angle on it.
Yeah, thanks, Tim. I think we just try not to think too hard about what we're doing, and if that does it. But I was in a band when I was 20, kind of 18, 19, 20, that kind of age, and I was like the bassist essentially. You were a bassist as well, weren't you? Mm-hmm. It's a good route to come from. But we were a trip hop band. The guys who led the band were trip hop, and it was like, maybe we should do this. It's like, no, we're a trip hop band, so it felt really constrained. And I mean, we sounded good, but I wasn't really a creative force in it. I was hardly at all. I mean, later on maybe, but it felt so constrained. And when I at the same time I was trying to make my own music, and I was probably too far the other way. I didn't even want to think about theory. I never wanted to play a chord in it. I just wanted some notes. And I thought, if I keep playing notes, and obviously I'm making chords, but I didn't want to be too conscious about it. I mean, I think I've left that extreme a long way behind. I don't think we're too bad, but I think we're relatively difficult to pinpoint down. But maybe Lamjacked is the criteria we've been looking for.
For me, it's something that I do purposefully. I do cut it up, and I'm interested. One of my big, I've got 2 or 3 bands that I absolutely love, and have been a massive influence for me personally. And one of them is Pixies. I absolutely love them. I absolutely love how quickly the song's over. You always want to go back to it. How they cut it up. It's so eclectic. What's the chorus? What's the verse? Is there a chorus? But you can sing it, and all those really lovely Joey Santiago on the guitar. It just looks so discordant, but so beautifully pitched and interesting and hooky. It sticks in your head. And I'm interested in that, and I call it scrapbooking. What I do is, it's in the way kids can listen to Finn Regan and AC/DC on the same set of whatever their playlist and their mixtape on there. There's no restrictions. Kids seem to like, and I'm interested. I call it scrapbooking, Just basically, we live a very, very, I think now our attention span is quite short, and we live scrapbook one to the other. Our families are scrapbooks, you know. We can have sisters from other families, we can have father, you know, we live a scrapbooky, eclectic life, and I like try to do that in the backing track before I send it to Tim. So, I think I sometimes do it a little bit too much, but out of that comes these awkward changes, really unexpected, and I really try and do that purposefully. Does that make sense? It's important that I'm making sense.
No, that's perfect. So you were touching on earlier on when you first sort of answered the first part. So is it in general that you'll write the tunes and then Johannes will write the lyrics, or is there any collaboration, or is it or don't you sort of stick to any rules at all? But just, who in general writes the lyrics of the tunes?
Yeah, I would say almost entirely Johnny writes all the music. Toughen Up's the only one where that was taken out of a kernel of a song I'd written before we started doing Outside Your House, really.
I remixed that.
About the same
classically
time.
Remixed it, didn't I? To your song. And
but other than that one track and going forward, Johnny's all the music. Johnny does a few. Have you done a few vocal lines?
Couple, probably. Yeah.
Couple, like the chorus to Late Nights is Johnny. The Christmas with the Sea and Demons refrain, that was yours. But pretty much all the words to me, I would say.
It doesn't really become a song until I get it back from you, and I'll take the elements which might not be the hook line and maybe make it a hook line, or you might not have thought it was going to be a hook line, it becomes a hook line. But I send him a backing track and he puts the words on it and some kind of melody, I guess, if you want to use a classic phrase, and it comes back and I kind of chop it around a bit more and make it into a song, and add my kind of vocals over the top of it. And
I think it's really strange for both of us, because I mean, we both used to do the whole thing. I haven't produced a track myself in 18 months at least, and it used to be all the main thing I did. I'd make tracks for myself. I had a project called Dangling Man for many years, and I kind of did the same as what Johnny's doing with a girl in Canada, my friend Erica. We were the Whalebones. I've never thought that was the best name in the end, but I'm still proud of what we did, but I kind of did all the tracks, so I was used to churning out a couple of tunes worth of music every month. That was really what my focus was, and now I'm scared I can't do it anymore. And probably Johnny's beginning to think, I don't know how to write words anymore.
Can't write lyrics, yeah.
But in a way, it makes it so much easier to sit down and go, there you go, there's the words.
Yeah.
I'm kind of curious. On your song Kingfisher Dave, when you make a reference to Cotton Mather, and I didn't know who he was, so I looked him up, and it turns out Cotton Mather, okay, he's this Puritan that lived born in Boston back in the 1660s, and then I realized, okay, he was a contemporary of Jonathan Swift. Is there any correlation there?
Should we say yes or no?
I don't know.
No. But maybe we'll tell people in the future there is. No, I don't know. I think Cotton Mather, I probably should have sung. I sing Mather in a bit of a clipped northern way, but I think Cotton Mather was in he's in like the quick play. I think it must just have stuck with me from doing that at GCSE. I don't know. There's no grand plan. No.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised because Cotton Mather was born in 1663, Jonathan Swift in 1667. So I thought, maybe there's something there.
That's some real homework. That's really.
You were born in 16.
Yes.
You do realise that if that question's ever raised and ever again in the future, you just say, you look into the camera all sincerely and say, of course.
I'm going to start making more 7th century references.
The sun's about to come up, I need to go home.
Yeah.
But it's what I find fascinating about what you're just saying then as well. It's one of those things that it's obviously goes quite a lot through the sort of creative industry, the particularly in the music industry, when you find two people that just fit with each other, and then therefore can inspire each other. I mean, like you were just saying, I mean, I don't know what you've written anything different, Johannes, but the stuff you write for Outside Your House is very, your style of writing is very eclectic, and obviously your style of music, John, is quite eclectic. But the two of you to come together is almost I don't know, very kind of,
It kind of shouldn't work, but it does, you know. And I'm always when I initially listen, I'm always like, oh, that's not really what I had in mind, you know, to be honest. and then I kind of just think, God, you know, the words are just so appealing. There's so much depth to them that I kind of fall in love with them, you know. And like I say, I really mean it. I kind of go, I've really got to do this justice. You know, I think that I had we had three attempts at the Christmas single, didn't we? And it was literally I had maybe a couple of days left to do it, and I've got to do this. This isn't good enough. I've got to do another one, and I got it on the third attempt, so I was really pleased with that. But it was literally, the words are so good, it's so interesting, so witty, and so clever. I have to do something like, you know, I'm compelled to do it, you know, to try and do this justice, you know, and that drives me forward. And they're very different things that, in my mind, shouldn't really work, and like I've said it before, but I think they do work. I think it's just one of those, maybe in a way that we all accept. Like, I love the Smiths, I accept the way Morrissey worked with Johnny Marr, but I'm not sure whether it should have worked actually. You know, I think it's quite discordant to what he actually did or does, and I wonder what he thought at the time when he first listens to Morrissey. Because I think that he worked in a very similar way. I think he did a backing track, Morrissey put words to it, you know. I think, from what I've read, I'm fascinated in that pairing of people, because they're very discordant individuals. I don't think they probably even got on that well. I really don't know. And it's that I feel, I'm not saying we're as good as the Smiths, by the way, but I'm interested in that coupling of two different people, and I kind of feel it's similar. We slot together similar and quite discordantly in a way.
So how long have you been? When did your journey with music start, Joe? How far does that go back into your life?
A few years, yeah, yeah. I'm from Bristol originally, and I kind of grew up in the 90s there, kind of listening to what was going on in Bristol at the time, which was trip hop, basically, I guess. And everybody says about Bristol, it's all about the bass, and it is. You know, it isn't. There's not really been any guitar bands come out of Bristol. It's all been very heavy dub and jungle and stuff like that. You know, and it's quite a rich cultural city. I have not been there. I've not been back for about 10 years.
Yeah, and then you went to London after that?
Oh yeah, moved to London. That's where I met my partner. She was from Sunderland, so that's why I ended up back up here. For Christmas, and I always loved it, and I just had enough of London. I didn't really get on with it after a while, and it's very obviously a busy place, and so we just sold up down there and moved up to Durham, which was close enough to Sunderland but far enough away.
So what music did you do in London?
Bits and pieces. Yeah, that's not really.
You're an engineer, weren't you?
I was a recording engineer for a little while, so I did have a bit of a technical background, I suppose, which I did, as I said, rebel against with my car boot sale acquired equipment, because I like rough sounding stuff. I think that's why Johannes does all the mixing. You know, when he said to you were talking about how we kind of met, and I asked him to mix, sonically mix a track of mine, is because I hate doing that. I find it a real chore, if I'm honest. I don't think I have the ears for it. I like the meat on the bones and making. I thought the word for making, actually physically making what we do, and I find it hard work to mix it. And I think you've got Johannes has got good ears, and I pass it over to him. I'm very scrappy, very scrappy in what I do, and I don't. What we do, it does need, things do need to be polished and finished and mastered a little bit, you know, and I rebel against a bit of that all the way down the line. But it's necessary, I think, in you know, the days of digital technology and what we listen to. It does have to be, have to sit right, and the level has to be right when it's being played on on radio and stuff like that. So yeah, I leave all that to Johannes, thankfully.
So how many times would it be passed back and forth between, on a given time? Is it some songs you hear first time and think, oh wow, that's it, done, or is there other songs that are left and you keep pouncing up and down with each other for a while?
Varies. I mean, I'd say these days we rehearse once a week as well, which has kind of changed how we shape the songs a bit.
Yeah, hasn't it?
So there's almost like an extra layer. so Johnny maybe will do a rough track. I'll put some vocals down on it, sending that. He'll pretty much, depending, some of them they stay very similar, but normally there's at least an element of it, like a middle eight, that changes completely. Often the whole thing changes. That comes back, and we probably bounce that around live for a little bit in the rehearsal room. And that's kind of more about vocal harmonies and things, and getting other layers on. And then I'll re-record my vocal over it, give it back to you to do your backing vocals again, and then that's probably when it's ready to be mixed at that point.
Yeah.
But even at that stage, we can suddenly go, oh crap, we need to put something in there or whatever. But yeah, so it's back and forth. We each have it 2 or 3 times, I would say.
So as a writer, Johannes, because I say this because of I kind of studied writing when I went to uni. I mean, who inspired you as a writer? Because I'm fascinated by your workmanship, to use an old-fashioned word, but I'm fascinated by it. I was wondering, is there anyone particularly that you have not who you're inspired to, or who inspires you as a writer?
I don't know. I think it's partly just I'll come to who inspires me in a second, but I kind of almost feel like I've developed myself over a long period of time. Like you see some bands, and I guess the music industry is obsessed with kind of youth. You see some bands like Alex from the Arctic Monkeys, who comes out at 18 with just these fantastic lyrics, and there are people that hit it at that age. But I think I was just too nervous. I think at that kind of age, I was in bands, I was kicking around with bands, but if I tried to sit down and write lyrics, I just wasn't really, or I just hadn't worked it out at all. So I mean, I've probably been trying to write lyrics and things since the early noughties. But if I listen back, some of them are okay, but maybe the quality control wasn't there. I kind of wince a little bit. So partly it's just practice, just to kind of work it out. What works for yourself. In terms of influences, I mean, I read books. That
Rock and roll about. What's you been reading for, man?
Read books slowly.
Do you read them or do you rap?
I guess I value all. I rap them.
Do you rap the books?
Only at Christmas as gifts. I would say, are you familiar with Yoni Wolf and Y? Have you heard of the band Y?
I am. I love them.
WHY with a question mark. They're from Cincinnati, Ohio, aren't they? I think. I listened to probably kind of like around the mid noughties. I started getting into a lot of what kind of indie rap, alternative rap. And although I don't think we're rap at all, maybe we'll go by lounge rap from now on.
I do like that.
I like that. I like that a lot.
Lounge rap. It's I guess these days it's kind of Yoni Wolf was a big influence. There's a rapper called Serengeti who's on the Anticon record label, who I know the Sealing Demons are a big fan. I mean, he just blows my mind. He releases 3 records a year in various different projects, and the quality is just like stunning. It's kind of a lot of dark tales of.
He has a unique ability to draw you in with his words. I mean, it's unique, isn't it? It's just beautiful.
But there's him. There's a bus driver who I'm nothing like, but he's inspiring. Bus driver's like a Los Angeles rapper who's really, really quick, really intelligent, really clever. You could sit and read his lyrics in his album for like all afternoon, and it just hit you with wonder at it. Open Mike Eagle's another rapper. So in terms of the lyrical content, probably a lot more from the US than from the UK. I mean, we're both Elvis Costello fans. We like the fact he crams all the words in. But probably more kind of one person would probably be Seven Getty, just because he can make everyday life into something, you know, special and kind of something, you know, trying to get something that I don't think I do this, but the attempt is to try and get something that, you know, really just hits you, a description of something that you feel that you know straight away, but you've never heard it quite said like that, you know. I think when I first started writing lyrics, I was in a band with a friend in Sheffield, and you know, he was very much of the thing that your lyrics need to be quite cryptic. It's best to be a little bit mysterious with them. Whereas I think, I mean, I love my friend Daniel, but that's probably the worst advice anyone's ever given me. I think it needs to be, for me, it needs to be like direct, you know, the more direct as possible. That's what I try and make anyway. And the other thing, if there's any inspiring writers out there that has helped a great deal, is actually typing my lyrics. I used to write them in notebooks and they'd be all over the place. But I still keep notebooks and I still kind of have things on my phone. But because I work somewhere where I type all day, I can type so much quicker than I can write with my hand, and much more legibly. So I found just bringing up a Word document and typing it out has just made it so much easier to chop and change and move things around and get a bit more of a flow to it, because that means you kind of feel it a bit more. It seems a bit silly. You think word processing a song would actually kind of take the soul out of it, but in fact it's more responsive to me. It means I can get it out of me while it's running, you know. You sit down sometimes and it's not there, but when it is there, it helps to get it out. So,
that's a great bit of advice, because that's something that I definitely share, because it's the times when I've written stuff on a page in my handwriting, and you know in the moment you're flowing and you feel like, yeah, I'm really in the groove here, and you go back next morning, you're like, I can't even read my own handwriting. I wish I practiced that more when I was a kid, you know. But at least with a word processor, it's always there in type, and you can sort of, even with word spell check, you can sort of like, oh yeah, I know what that word means roughly. You know, so that's a fascinating concept, because it's one of the things I'm fascinated, like whether we're going to get to a point where, I don't know, it's going to do 30 years down the line, kids won't even be able to use a pen and paper. Is that going to be a completely dead art like Chinese calligraphy?
Maybe. I mean, my phone can do a pretty good job of understanding what I'm saying to it now. I already begrudge having to like swipe or type a text out on it. I think, well, why don't you have that function for my text messaging? It seems ridiculous that I have to manually input it. I feel like every summer at school I'd come back, you'd have 6 or 7 weeks off, and I'd come back and I'd forget how to write. I feel sometimes like I'm getting to that stage where, you know, I can understand it just about, but I'm not even forming the letters anymore. I'm just squiggling. Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing how it goes. I suppose it's like any skill. If you don't practice it enough, it soon fade away. Do you know what I mean? Except, ironically enough, Johannes, as we both know, and all of us know, except riding a bike. Because it doesn't matter how many years you don't get on a bike, you can always ride a bike. So, handwriting.
You never. It's like riding a bike.
So I mean. You sort of like, you know, we gathered from this that obviously you're from Bristol, so I mean, are you Sheffield born and bred then, Johannes?
No, I'm from Chester, which is in the northwest of England, like near Liverpool, near the Welsh border. I lived there till I was 18, and then I went to university in Sheffield and stopped on there, and moved up here 2006. Because my ex-girlfriend was doing a PhD up here. She was my girlfriend at the time. I didn't follow her in a kind of stalky way. We were out at the time. She's now my ex-girlfriend. Yeah, so I kind of moved up for that, really, more than anything else, and probably begrudged it for quite a while because I loved Sheffield as a city. It was a really great place to be and be young. And now I'm not young anymore. No, I I like Durham a lot now. It's small enough that you know people out in the street, but near enough to Newcastle, and a lot of beautiful places, as you say. To go out on a bike or out on a walk or whatever. It's all right, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a decent little town. It reminds me of Bristol when I grew up, which is a lot smaller. Bristol's like it's like London now, you know. It's an absolute metropolis. But up here, it's you can go out and you kind of know a few people around. It's a little bit more community. It's a decent little. It's not really a city. It's got a cathedral, so it's has the heading of a city, but it's more of a town city. It's smaller than your average city, isn't it?
Yeah, but I mean, so I was in Chester, just in bands with my friends from about the age of 12, I would say, playing various things. I ended up being a bassist. That we had a review in some Northwest magazine that reviewed our demo and said, ridiculously dominant bass line. I've always been proud of that. And then I went to Sheffield, and they had this kind of thing in the university, kind of, they had like a societies fair where I did a bit of running at the time. I remember going to the athletics stall, and they were a little bit snobby, and I just didn't end up joining. I was just about to leave, and there's a little stall around the corner which was like a musician's kind of database type thing. You told them what you played and how long. You just went on this list. So I put my name down on that, and about a week later someone said, oh, we're putting a band together. And so within about a week of being in Sheffield, I was involved in bands and kind of was the rest of the time I was there. So it's good. You know, it's another one of those, like me picking up that magazine where I saw Johnny in it. One of the past this stall, and I might have sacked off music. You know, I might not have carried on with it. Or not to such an extent, but in the end, just that little chance of spotting it, put my name down, got me involved in meeting some great people, and when I finished my degree, I spent a year and a half signing on trying to be a musician.
Yeah.
So it became something really important to me, you know. But that didn't totally work.
Well, one of the things that if it all goes completely belly up for you, you know, I mean, one of the things I remember when I first saw the Hallway Whispers, the video, I thought, man, if nothing else, you two have got a long and illustrious future on the stage as comedians. You always have that kind of like ghost whisper of Morecambe and Wise about you. Do you know what I mean? Because some of those dead looks you gave the camera there, Johannes, was, I don't know how you get a straight face on that.
Thanks, Tim. We turned up to do it, and Johnny said, "Let's just do it. Let's do it in here." I was like, "You sure?" Yeah, it'll be fine. You can't take yourself too seriously, really, can you?
No, we don't. Without you know, becoming a comedy band, we try not to. Although, you know, I've kind of getting in depth about what I think about music and my thoughts on how we work and stuff like that. I do try not to take it too seriously and to try and really enjoy it, and part of that is to have some fun with it. And you know, we wore pajamas at the last gig because it's Christmas, you know. That's all we could come up with, and we didn't want to be too cliche and wear kind of Christmas jumpers. So yeah, we wore pajamas like it was Christmas night or whatever. And I think we'll continue to do that on occasion. And so that video was, we did it in a tiny change room in my shop in Durham. And yeah, it kind of worked out. It kind of worked out quite well. Everything was done really in a rush. It was only a couple of weeks before Christmas, and you know, Johannes was busy mixing it, and we wanted to do a video for it. So it was really rushed, but it kind of worked out good. Some things work out well, don't we? Like we said before, without thinking about it too much. You know, they tend to work.
So how did you two first come across the receiving units? How did your paths first cross with those boys?
I guess we had the EP kind of, the first EP kind of ready to go, and we weren't like totally sure how to do it. I mean, we'd been, as I said, we'd made music, but the last time we both really been out on base with the stuff we were doing, the music world was a different place really, so we felt a bit disconnected. From a little bit of research, kind of thinking what we're going to do, searching for kind of similar bands in the local area, I had already come across the Sealing Demons because, they work really hard on their online profile and stuff. They're quite quick to find, and they're getting a lot of traction. Is that the right word, traction?
Mm-hmm. Sounds like a good word.
Yeah, it does. But we went.
Sounds convincing.
But where we actually met them was there's like a company called Generator, which I think has got some European backing to kind of enhance the music industry in certain areas of the country, and they in Newcastle put on a few kind of
seminars
and stuff. Yes, I went to the urban music marketing masterclass, which was taken by a guy called Grant, who's like hip hop editor, really nice guy. But we kind of, I think there was about 30 people had signed up to it, and musicians are lazy bastards. There's like about 6 of us there, and they went around the room and said who was who, and I was like, so the guy next to me was like, it's the Sealing Demons, the real Sealing Demons, because they seemed almost famous to me. But they came around and asked us what we did, and what we were there for, and I explained the kind of influences that me and Johnny had. And then it got back to Sealing Demons, and they basically said the same influences and like kind of what he said. So that we kind of got chatting in the breaks from that, and then just kind of it was they were great contact for us to have because as I say, they've done so much already. And then I kind of kept in touch via the Twitter and whatnot, and I didn't see him live until much later. I mean, that was kind of April last year, and I didn't see him live till maybe September. There's an Ox Jam, like little music festival in Darlington, which is maybe half an hour down the road for me. So I popped down there to see him play, and it was just perfect Sealing Demons. Really, there was technical issues, but they both just really went for it and put on a great show. And from chatting to them there and stuff, that they offered us this, asked if we'd play at Christmas with them, and then
Halloween.
They ended up doing the Halloween one as well. It's strange, I feel they support us. They support us so much, and through them, we've met yourselves, and quite a nice supportive network, and it's been really nice. But we hardly know them really. We turn up, do a gig, say thanks very much, and leave. What I mean? We say we have to take them out for tea. If you're watching, lads, we'll get you some dinner.
Yeah,
have a proper chat with them, really.
Yeah, we definitely need to catch up. Like they've been an absolute highlight for us. So supportive. I just personally, I'm really interested to see where they're gonna go because they're young and they've got a lot of talent, and I love what they stand for, and I love what they rap and sing about. I'm a real big fan. I enjoy them immensely, and they're just a massive positive energy. Not only gifted, but they're just very, very positive to be around, and it rubs off on you. It's really good to be around that. Me and Johannes, we're quite, are we a bit introverted?
I don't know. I mean,
cynical.
A
bit.
The Mad Friday that we did, I made loads of mistakes, and I got a bit down on myself, and I was a bit. And then I saw Si afterwards, and he was just like, I just thought, Si wouldn't let this get him down. Si would just be, So next time I'm going to be, yeah.
They're just, they're really good. They're a good for anybody to be around, and you need that, and the music industry, whatever it is we're in, needs that as well, and all the support, calm, and all that, and I just think it's absolutely great. And I hope that we can gig more and be friends for a good long while, not just because they like us, they're really good guys.
Well, I mean, I think
as you know them
Yeah, and I think you hit the nail right on the head. I mean, I often said this world is a better place for those two being on it. I think you said exactly there. They're a positive energy in this world, and but what I see not only with, and I mean, I could sit here and I have done, many times, tell everybody to go check out the Sea of Demons because I mean, everyone should know how I feel about them. But what I love, what I'm seeing, not only in the Sea Demons, but in yourselves and everywhere now, and I can definitely testify to this being a thing that's going worldwide, is that so many bands at the moment. I mean, I was talking to last week, last week, we were talking to Terrace, and they were saying almost word for word what we just said there, Johnny. It's this idea of collaboration, helping each other out, instead of, you're probably, like you said, you're a bit more jaded and a bit more cynical, a bit like me. We've kind of been through the run a bit. We remember the times where it's all about stamping on each other, and that's definitely not the scene coming up now. Whether that's, I think it's a big part in due to Seven Demons, but I think it's also a big part of us as a human species. I've been saying this for weeks. I think that human beings are instinctively quite a positive energy towards each other. If we can reach out and find each other, amazing things happen. I mean, I think it's been amazing watching. I've been amazed watching the Demons rise from what they were when they first started up to what they are now, and then seeing bands like yourself and other bands just everywhere, just like nature, just popping up everywhere. And I think it's only a great thing. And I mean, it's interesting that you say you're from Bristol because I'm old enough to reflect on it, and I think this, and I've been saying it for ages, this creative rising, and I relate it a lot to what you were saying, or what went on in Bristol in the 90s. I can see the big scene that's rising, and it's got so many collective and eclectic music tastes in it, and bands and stuff, but they're all helping each other. I don't know, from someone who's in the midst of it, I mean, how do you feel about that? Is that something,
Yeah, I think. Well, I think you're right. You're certainly right about Bristol in the early '90s. That was an absolute. It was quite an interesting. It was very interesting because I think other cities I think experienced it, but everybody looked. London certainly looked to Bristol, and the people that were in Bristol kind of said, "We're not going to go. We're going to stay here, and we're just going to do what we're going to do," and kind of London came looking to Manchester as well, didn't it? And so there was a massive feeding frenzy of A&R people back there trying to kind of move into Bristol to find out what was going on. But yeah, there was a lot of DJ production teams. I wouldn't say bands, DJ production teams there, doing a lot of really interesting things. Smith and Mighty, which perhaps didn't come to fruition a lot of the time. I think because they got signed too early and weren't allowed to develop. Back in the time when there was a lot of money resting on you if you got signed to a record label, you were already in debt, £150,000 probably, and you had to kind of live up to that within maybe a year or 18 months, and that's hard. That's really hard. You become almost, I think, subservient to accountants rather than A&R departments. But in any case, I'm aside. Yes, you are right. It feels actually, I never really dawned on me. It does feel similar to that with the independent artists I guess if we were in a scene with the Ceiling Demons and Wicked and Nick O'Carr and people in our area, yeah, you're spot on. I would say, yeah. And going back to the Demons, yeah, they wear their heart on their sleeve, and I really like that. I think that's what everybody finds endearing about them, to be honest.
Well, I'm sure Ryan and Richard have anything worse to say about the boys.
Yeah.
What's that?
I was just saying, I mean, I'm sure you've got your own things you can talk about the Ceiling Demons when you work with them,
Well, what can I say about the Ceiling Demons that has not been said by us at least a million? No, but it seems like everybody that Jonathan just named off in your guys' area seem to have just a very genuine feel to it. And even if the Ceiling Demons are very hard on their sleeve type guys and especially musically, but I still hear that I hear that in all of you guys. and that's kind of what's attracted me towards all these groups in general. Like everyone you just named off, I mean, I actually do really enjoy all of those groups, and I don't. I'm not somebody who really kind of fanboys over musical groups, but then everyone you just named off, I'm like, I would actually be excited for, any new music or anything that's coming out from them. And yeah, I mean, I think you guys all do it, but there's just, even as humans, we're so all individual and so unique that we will end up, kind of doing the same things, but then doing them in our own way. And that's really one of the things I loved about, listening to Outside Your House the first time, was that sort of, I guess it's a little cynical, but the sort of cynical lounge type feel that it had to it. But at the same time, it still felt very genuine. It didn't feel like a Weird Al Yankovic like parody group, or somebody who's really like, we gotta, like, this needs a punchline, like we gotta get a laugh right here, because I kind of hate comedy music. Like it's really hard for me to listen to because it's always more comedy than it is music. But Outside Your House is more music than comedy, but at the same time, it's not just jokes and whatever. It's from the heart type stuff, and that's what I think. The Ceiling Demons, Nico. I think that's what I'm seeing from a lot of you guys is just very genuine, unique humanists. But at the same time, it can be funny, it can be serious, it can be enlightening, it can be it can be so many different things. But I think you guys are all coming from the same place, and it's really great to hear.
Thanks.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah, that's spot on.
What was I going to say? Yeah, I think we're in a kind of completely different place, world for musicians and artists than we were, when me and Johnny first started being in bands. Just a completely different platform, and I think as like a music fan, music has never been better for me. If I compare now to like the late '90s when I was first really getting into stuff, it's this. The music I listen to, I think, is of much better quality and much kind of more kind of heartfelt and more of a connection. And I guess ultimately it's because people have access to the methods a lot more, and,
yes,
and distribution, everything. But at the same time, the people that I listen to, the bands that I'm like a fanboy about, struggle to pay for the meals off it. You know what I mean? Even the ones that I think are successful, you kind of read a bit about them, and they're having to really work hard to make a living out of it. What am I trying to say, Johnny?
As ever, I'm not sure.
Oh,
but
okay.
you're making sense. I'm sure you are.
But when
you will.
But when like early noughties type thing, there was guys who ran studios in Sheffield who were saying, I don't think it's a good thing that people have, people are going to have Logic at home, Cubase at home, are going to be able to make their own music, because you'll just be flooded with like below par music, and you'll not be able to. At the minute, record labels. This is what you were saying. At the minute, record labels kind of and managers and that whole system brings the good stuff to the top.
It's the 90s, what you were saying to you.
Early noughties, I would say, yeah. And they were. I mean, obviously, they ran the people who had that opinion generally were either managers or ran studios, so they had some vested interest. But I could see the fear. You know what I mean? How do you find what the music that you like? How do you hook onto stuff if it's so easy for bands to put stuff out? But if anything, for me, it's just been, it's just there's so much more music out there, and music's fragmented in so many ways. You're never going to have maybe the same collective experience across the country or across the world of getting into certain bands anymore. Hardly at all. But on a whole, I think it's been fantastic for music.
The home recording revolution. Yeah, absolutely. We were talking about this down when we were driving down to go on the radio the night, and we were saying that to be creative as a four-piece band or whatever, a lot of that creative flow. I mean, obviously you do some of it in a rehearsal room, but a lot of it would be would take place in a recording studio that you were paying for, you know. So the home recording revolution certainly allows me to be completely myself and experiment, and really quite quickly, and yeah, it's really liberating and has freed me up totally. I don't have to rely on anybody else. I could be totally myself, as we were saying at the beginning, and that's been really, for me personally, a revelation and a music revolution, I guess, the home recording setup. Obviously, it means that there's an awful lot of music out there. I think you could throw a stone out of any window in any street and hit probably, you know, at least one or two bands or production teams or whatever in every city and in every street in every city now. But there's an awful lot of people out there doing an awful lot of interesting stuff now, and the internet is allowing us to find those individuals. As in, I mean, you've introduced me to a lot of art rap, for want of a better genre. But yeah, it's allowed us to find and be influenced by some quite abstract and hard to find individuals. In any other circumstance, we would rely on the record company to find us over Mike Eagle or Serengeti.
Yeah, it's not that far ago when, if it wasn't played on Radio 1, you wouldn't have come across it really. Unless it was in a magazine or something like that, you know, physical magazine. I think I'm showing how old we are.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, totally. I mean, it's one of the things that I've mentioned before. Is I'm old enough to remember, you're talking about age. I remember having to send away to the cassettes over to America to get, you know, like mixtapes and stuff. And you know, it's amazing that.
Yeah.
I mean, we're probably a bit older than, you know, definitely sort of like someone like Ryan, who's a bit younger than us, but it's amazing to see the speed of the change and the rise of how quickly the technology has all connected us, and things that were impossible when I was in the band 10, 15 years ago. We would have dreamed of, I say this all the time to any band I talk to, especially the Sealing team, so we would have dreamed of being in your situation. You know, I would have loved to have been able to record and put the stuff out onto a distributed system that's going to, you know, go out to the world. And the great thing is, we're living in times where this is only going to become, you know, quicker and better. And I don't know, it's up against so full. These are great days. But what I find fascinating about that, as much as, do you know what I mean? Like you're saying, we were talking about how, you know, we can record at home and stuff like that. You mentioned right at the beginning of this interview, you know, Joe, you were saying you record on stuff that you found in old boot sales, and I think that's a fascinating thing. That I'm the same way. That, you know, you find a guitarist that will go back to an old Fender from '65, or, you know, I will go back and try to find, you know, old equipment and stuff, because it's that idea that it's being used. I won't ever try to buy a new easel or buy an older easel. And it's a fascinating thing that there's some bits of equipment that even though technology has, you know, gone way beyond and can offer far more, we still like to go back and use old equipment. Is that one of the reasons you like using old equipment? Is just because of the sound and the feel they had back at the time, or is there another reason?
I don't know. I don't know. In a way, I find it quite. I don't know what the word is. Quite daring, I suppose, and quite interesting, and also quite restrictive. There's only so much you can do. What I find with these old Casio keyboards, they've always got at least one good sound, and it's, you know, it's a clarinet, but it might have a brilliant. That clarinet might sound like a brilliant bass. You know, it's a bit weird. But there's an example. There's a great interview with Jerry Dammers, who's also a big hero for me, and Ghost Town. Those beautiful sounds on there are a kind of, for want of a better word, and I don't mean to insult grandparents, but they were kind of the old granddad keyboards, you know, you find in your granddad's kind of bedroom, you know, two-tier, load of switches that you go on, and the flute sounds and the clarinet sounds he used on Ghost Town were all from that, you know, kind of something you would get out of a catalogue back in the day, you know. You know the kind of keyboard I mean, Tim, do you?
Yeah, exactly, Tim. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's a really great interview. It's on YouTube, and he's talking about how he made Ghost Town, and it's just great. And there's nothing, you know, it's not a Rhodes, it's not a classic Hammond organ. It's an old granddad piano, electric piano, with all the kind of old jazz sounds on it, you know, which you play by itself. You know, again, kind of a classic lounge kind of keyboard, and I just love that. And you could make massive hit records using instruments like that. It fascinates me. I really enjoy that side of it, and that's something that we use on our little live setup, and it just looks interesting. We try and be visual, don't we? Because we are kind of a hip hop setup, aren't we? Cool.
I think, as I say, just think in general, we're just both wary of anything sounding too good, too like spot on. We've got a couple of tom drums just down there actually that we use when we play live, and the guy at the rehearsal room we go to was looking at it going, "Do you want me to tune that up for you?" Because it looked, you know, it was like hanging apart, and I was trying to explain to him that no, we don't want the drum to sound good. We want it to rattle. We want it to sound like it's about to fall apart. But you know, and even in the mix sometimes, you know, I think, oh, that sounds a bit good. I'll record it out, put it through a fairly mediocre amp again, just to get some dirt in there, really.
Yeah, I think there's a great myth that you know, and it's obviously one that's being killed. That's being killed off. Maybe even now it's dead. But you have to, you know, back in the day you had to spend loads of money in recording studios to get a good sound, a good drum room, great guitar amps, and you know, there's a guy who was a friend of mine called Phil Vinyl. He was a record producer, still is. I think he lives out in Mexico now. But he was a great one for recording with little old drum machines and guitar solos on those little Marshall battery amps, sticking a microphone in. It would just sound great, you know. It was just, why couldn't you do that? What's the difference, really? You know, a lot of the time you're putting it through a magnificent EQ. You didn't really need all these massive amps and very expensive equipment. And again, that's something I find fascinating and I enjoy, to be honest.
Plus, I'm a skinflint, so that helps as well.
Yeah.
Well, that was quite a fascinating thing at the Mad Friday gig, because obviously you had Emma's, you know, transmission device there. So, and he had a, and again, I'm not hungry. Both of you probably know the actual name, but an old reel-to-reel cassette. What was the machine called? Because I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's exactly. We used the same thing, which is ironic. We both had reel-to-reels using our back. We both had exactly the same model. It's an Akai DS4000. It's kind of a mid-70s state-of-the-art reel-to-reel tape machine, quarter-inch tape machine. Yeah, and we put our backing track on that. Again, we try and be as visual as we can with two people. So there's always something going on, and I think it's kind of nice to have that in the background, kind of turning. It's a great retro thing to have, and it's a nice nod, and it's history, and it's kind of home for us, isn't it?
Well, we were saying, it's pretty probably, and Rich, we were saying that, you know, technology killed Kodak, and it definitely killed the cassette industry, didn't it? Do you know what I mean? TDK and all those old companies, and same with the film industry. I mean, it wasn't that long ago, Ryan, that someone like you would have been doing it all on reel-to-reel, wouldn't it?
Pretty much, yeah. Well, I think Depeche Mode used to go out with a 16-track reel-to-reel, and everything was on that, you know, and that's how they toured and kind of played their keyboards over the top. And I'm guessing, in a way, we're doing similar to that. Yeah, similar.
I was of the brief mini disc generation. We had a mini disc. We had a mini disc 4-track, you know. I remember we'd preach about mini discs. Anyone that would listen, get rid of your tape deck, mini discs of the future.
Well, yeah, that's a fascinating story. I remember when I travelled first time around. I remember travelling. This is like the late '90s, and I was having half my rucksack given over to cassettes, thinking, okay, you know what I mean, no vinyl, I have to ditch all my vinyl, put it all in cassettes. And then I went around travelling, and I remember in 2000, like probably that 2000, 2001, I met a guy and he travelled across and he had his whole collection of about 5 mini discs, and I was like, oh, and now even that would seem antiquated. We showed a kid that now on the 20, and it was like, oh, granddad, you and your mini discs.
I was hanging out with some kids the other day, like I do, like 19 years old or something, and they didn't know what a slide projector was. Like where you show your holiday slides. Didn't have a clue. It was a PowerPoint presentation. I said, I was hanging out with these kids at a PowerPoint presentation, and I said, it's funny that they still call them it's funny that they still call them slides, you know. And they were like, "What do you mean?" Well, you know, like slides. And I was going, but they just didn't know what I was talking about.
Well, I've always wondered what happened to all those things, because like you say, all our parents have had them. I mean, I remember growing up as a kid having drawers full of slides. I mean, what happens to them all? They just get all thrown out.
I've seen. I think so. Most of them are probably in landfill or something. You occasionally come across them at a car boot or something, but I've come across them at car boots, but they've been like bought slides. You know, you go on holiday to Venice and you buy a pre-made set of slides of Venice. I guess people don't want to put their own personal family photos, you know, out for, you know, house clearances or whatever. So they must just burn up somewhere.
Yeah,
it's a shame.
It's amazing one of those things that we all fly through life and we don't sort of photograph the things around us. And you think those slides now are like mini little time, you know, slivers of time, aren't they? And they capture, like you say, all the holidays in Scarborough and trips to Morecambe Bay and all that are gone forever. They're in a landfill. It's such a shame, really.
Yeah, I mean, I lose all my photos because I leave my telephone out in the rain. Yeah, last 2 years, memory's gone, you know. Oh well.
So you two seem quite a visually inspired band. I mean, you big sort of fans of movies and films and stuff.
I do. I feel like with films, I feel like with music, I've got strong opinions, and people can ask me about my music taste, and I will tell them exactly what I like and why and what I don't like, and I will ignore reviews pretty much. I've got my own strong opinions. With films, I do like watching films, but just the nature of them, you can't just dip in for 5 minutes and decide whether you want to watch the whole thing or not. I tend to go a lot by kind of, you know, how they get critically appraised, and go from there. I really like Paolo Sorrentino, an Italian director. He's done quite big films, but been watching quite a few of his lately. I like them. But you a film man, Johnny?
I'm not really. I don't think I am. No, I think I'm the same as you. I like to know about bands, and I like to know about music. I'm especially interested in the history of bands, how almost like Tim was asking us, really, how did they meet? What was that moment in time where that made them come together at that point in time and led them down that path? I'm really fascinated, and I like to think I'm fairly knowledgeable about things I like. Films I don't know too much about. I guess I kind of know what I like. I tend to be drawn to kind of the classics, The Godfather and Apocalypse Now, stuff like that.
I just.
Go on. No, I was only mentioning because you do reference a lot of sort of like Cary Grant, and you do put a lot of old school film examples. That's the sort of overlap I was asking, because you use quite a lot of film reference in your tunes, so that was more my sort of question.
There's one of our songs that never quite made it. Maybe it will one day, which is got Dennis Quaid in a space referenced in it.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a Twin Peaks reference in our next EP as well, isn't there?
Yeah.
Twin Peaks.
I think there's a lot of that, but I think they're possibly moment in time references, aren't they? For you know, like Dennis, wag my finger and smile, Dennis Taylor style. You know, it's a reference to something in your childhood. You know, which I can certainly relate to. Pinpointing moments in time around perhaps the things. I mean, I'm putting words in your mouth. I have no idea sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I just don't want to say I'm a film buff, because I'm really not. But I do enjoy sitting and watching at work, you know. But I'm not an expert.
Okay, it's like I say, it's in a lot of your songs. You kind of almost get the impression that like Ryan was saying, you're very kind of lounge rap, and you all sit around watching black and white, films from the 50s.
I think, yeah, I mean, I do quite like watching black and white films. Whilst rapping over top. What's I going to say? Oh yeah, I just think there's some kind of like you don't want to overdo it, but I kind of quite like the kind of, I'm not overthinking it as a technique, but I quite like the kind of pop culture references in music that I listen to, and I guess place name. I like a good place name every now and again in a song. So I guess it's semi-conscious,
Well, definitely. So I'm sure I'll ask them here, ask them live. Do either of you two know who? When I say the name Noel Edmonds, does that even ring a bell with you two in the States?
No. Yeah.
Rich, does Noel Edmonds ring a bell with you?
All right, who again? I'm having a little trouble hearing.
Noel Edmonds.
Hold on, let me look it up. I'm gonna Google it.
He's playing for timer. Oh yeah, Swap Shop. Yeah, I remember that guy.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the broadcaster, right?
Yeah.
Rich knows it. He's famous, isn't he? Noel. Yeah, I do reference him in Hallway Whispers, our Christmas tune. Yeah. When I was at the Urban Music Marketing Masterclass, where I met the Ceiling Demons. I think I was in the wrong class. I wasn't at a master.
We're so not urban. I don't know what we were doing.
Yeah, but when I was there, Grant was how British kind of rap music, which again I'm not quite sure we are, but we're not that far away. How, in general, either British rap tries to become very American rap, and therefore just becomes a bit silly, or it goes the other way and tries to be really from its roots. So you'll get rappers from Newcastle rapping in, and it'll be for like their kind of cred, or whatever the word for cred is these days. And it'll be thick. It'll be a really thick kind of accent, full of impenetrable kind of like slang and stuff that no one's really gonna get. And so it was kind of like you got to just try and be true to yourself. And I'm thinking, yeah, I pretty much agree with that. You've got to be able to be direct, as I say. You've got to be something that everyone can hear, everyone can understand, but you don't want to like be copying like an American style. Even though our main influences are, kind of on the fringes of American kind of rap. So we kind of sing roughly just in our own, but I just can't resist the odd reference to British culture that no one's ever going to get the other side of the Atlantic. Because as Johnny says, really, I guess it's just, it's references to your own upbringing, your own childhood.
Moments in time, yeah, I guess, yeah. And feelings that he had at the time, what was going on, I suppose, isn't it? And we're interested in the strangeness of British light entertainment, and yeah, everything English is a bit quirky, for want of a better word, isn't it? We're a strange nation sometimes, a lot of the time. And I think that's reflected in some of your lyrics, isn't it? Would you say? Yes.
No, I would say it's not only reflected in the lyrics. I think it's reflected in the tunes themselves. I think there is a very. My beloved said the first time she heard you, she said you're like you can definitely tell you're like an English. She called you an English Air. Do you remember the band called Air from like 2000? And she thought you were very much like an English version of that.
Beautiful bass lines. Oh, those bass lines. Oh.
I'm still a huge fan of Air. They still come out with stuff, Tim.
Well, I wouldn't know, mate.
Air is surprisingly fantastic live as well. I saw them a long time ago live, and it blew my mind. For a kind of largely instrumental band, they were just superb. Really good musicians, so we're never going to be able to go down that track.
I saw something too where they, you guys are talking about the digital recording revolution. I guess when they play live, a lot of times they'll use a program for their guitar called Guitar Rig, which will actually, basically has all their setups, effects and all that, just for every single song, like already in it. And all they have to do is go to the, instead of bouncing on pedals and and switching guitars and switching everything, they just, click a button on the laptop and there's their effects and they're playing. And
I've got Guitar Rig on my as a plugin on I use Cubase when I mix and everything. I don't know. I never quite got on with it. I always found it was too good. Like really compressed, really tight. But for air stuff, I guess it would
make sense.
Fit in smoothly. Yeah.
Going back to what you were talking about earlier, when you don't want to do the rap and have it introducing the Britain references that nobody else would get. I thought it was interesting. About 3 years ago, I met a guy named Ralph Jean-Pierre, and he goes by the name Spearbearer, and he actually raps the Shakespeare sonnets. And he was traveling through my area of the world, and he looked up Shakespeare, Rito, so where I live, and we came up, my wife and I, because my wife wrote a screenplay called Billy Shakespeare. And so he called us up, and it turned out he was riding his bicycle from New York all the way across to California, and then he was going to go up north and ride his bike all the way back to New York City. And it's pretty bizarre. What he would do is he would stop and at a garage, it didn't matter where he was, he would stop and ask, just find an audience, no matter where it was, and he would rap Shakespeare. And it was pretty bizarre. So actually, in his case, it was more so just giving a Shakespeare play, but he was a rapper, and I'm kind of confusing him with another guy, Devon Glover, also from New York. And Devon Glover actually does rap the sonnets, and I think he's going for the Guinness Book of World Records for rapping all the sonnets. And again, he's going to be going to the UK. I don't know if it's next year or the year after, and I think it's for Shakespeare's not his birthday, but maybe his death. I don't know. There's some town that commemorates Shakespeare's death, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, I just found it pretty interesting. Rappers going the other way and totally, rapping Shakespeare. Don't be afraid to rap and just throw in all the Britain references you want.
Yeah, no, it's not fair point. That would be amazing to see. But yeah, I think even watching a play when you've got the kind of the actors' expressions of Shakespeare's language, you still have to really concentrate. But to hear someone rapping it quite fast, I guess it would be. You'd need to want to be reading it at the same time to kind of follow it, I imagine. And
whilst cycling across the continent, it's really
that's amazing.
Really quite alive, well lived, isn't it?
When did Shakespeare die? What day of the year?
I don't know, Johannes.
23rd of April.
23rd of April.
He died on his birthday.
He was born on his birthday, and he died.
Then I guess he was celebrating his birth and death. Huh.
Yeah. Must have been a big party.
Yeah.
That's the sort of use.
I can just see the people standing over him saying, like, "This is the worst birthday party we've ever been
to." So, what's your you sort of mentioned earlier on, you're obviously in the process of sort of like writing some new tunes. I mean, it's the plan this year to get an album out, or what's the sort of general plan for the Outside Your House this year?
Well, Tim, we're definitely putting an EP out. It's pretty much written. We just need to finish mixing it. That'll definitely be out next month. Whether we like it or not, we'll make sure it happens.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. And then we've got another kind of in the pipeline. We thought about whacking a couple of EPs out early on in the year, but I'm not really sure. I think we're going to see how it goes. I don't want to say we'll have an LP out by the end of the year and then not do it. But I guess that's a possibility, is it?
A new EP next month, and there's quite a few that are kind of almost finished. But we want to do some more playing live. We want to really push that a lot if we can this year. How we're going to do that, we're not too sure at the moment.
No, we're playing at the waiting room, and I think it's Eagles Cliff, like Yarm Way, on the 8th of March, which will be it's like a vegetarian restaurant, but they have like a backspace and they have quite a cosy little series of really quite nice gigs there every Sunday night. So Bob Fisher, who does Radio Tease, is putting us on there, promote the EP, and then beyond that we're just going to try and play live as much as we can and get recording. I'd say hopefully we'll definitely be releasing other things this year, but whether we opt for sticking with EPs or if it forms like an album, I wouldn't want to quite predict yet, really.
Yeah, I don't know. I think we'll probably just carry on with EP. I think it just keeps it fresh and allows us to kind of deviate slightly and experiment more than maybe putting 10 tracks down and having an album out that year. I think 4 and 5 tracks is something easy, it's something nice to aim for, and we can put out hopefully a few in a year.
We need to get a spreadsheet on the go, don't we?
Yeah, we like spreadsheets. Every fortnight I come round to Johannes and do a spreadsheet of what we need to do, what hasn't been done, what tracks need my backing vocals, blah blah blah, and then
maybe a Gantt chart as well.
A Gantt chart, yeah, we've had a go at one of those, haven't we?
Yeah.
It does help, but usually it changes. That's why I think every fortnight we do it, because within 2 weeks it usually changes, doesn't it?
Oh, and we're probably videos as well. I think we should be having a video out for one of the tracks off the EP, but it's more just a live video, isn't it? Really?
Yeah.
Partly just so there's something up there to show what we're like live when we're trying to get gigs and things.
Yeah, it's difficult with us. It's one of the things we've aimed for. One of the things we try really hard is to be different, to not sound like anybody else, to not be part. I always get this word wrong, right? Say the genre, the G word.
Genre.
I say genre. The band, the kind of now band, I guess now is Young Fathers over here, just won the Mercury Prize, and they only sold like 2,000 copies of their album. They're with Anticon in the States, but they're from Glasgow, I think.
Yeah.
Won the Mercury Prize, kind of really. Edinburgh. It didn't surprise me, but it was a bit of a surprise, I think, for music press, who didn't really know much about them. And they said something really poignant, and I kind of agree with it. If they said it, because the press was asking them how to describe themselves. What were they? What was their genre? Yeah, did I say it right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And they said their answer to that was if you could define yourself in a genre, it was already over for you. And I kind of like that. I think that's really poignant. It's nice to be in the grey area between styles, between genres, to kind of meld them together and to try and come up with a new style of music. But sometimes that can work slightly against you, because as a promoter, I guess it would be sometimes it's not like we could go out and play with a folk band. I don't know, maybe we could. I think people would be slightly timid to do that. I think promoters would be slightly timid to do that. And yet, maybe, although I think we kind of go down well with the Sealand Demons crowd, I'm not sure what hardcore rap bands or bands in, say, Newcastle would think of us, or how we would go down. We might be okay, I don't know. But I think it's a bit of a gamble for some people. So I'm not sure where that's going to lead us down the live route. I'm just glad that we can play live, because at one point we didn't really know how we were going to do it. Hence the urban masterclass, because it was for artists that don't like dance artists and stuff that don't actually play live, I guess, wasn't it? That's what it was aimed at. But we found a way to play live, and I'm kind of happy about that. And yeah, we need to go out and play. So that's
I mean, I think although we've had like a few people that have been really supportive, the main thing for this year is just to try and increase our audience, really, and well, the main thing is to keep making music and get prolific, but the dual thing is to try and get more of an audience and get it out there a bit more.
Yeah.
We know how to do that.
I think it's just something that comes in time, and I think that the most positive thing is that guys like you, Tim, and Seeing Demons, and Bob Fisher at BBC Institution, you must play a track of ours pretty much every week now.
Yeah.
It's been so supportive, and it's a bit of a bolt out of the blue for us. We never really expected that. We expected it to be a bit of a slow burner, and it's been a joy really to have people on our side like that and supporting us. Yeah, amazing, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, I can only speak for myself, like I said before. I just find it refreshing to hear. I think one of the things I'll put this in another way. I think one of the things that maybe there's an element I think comes across with what you're putting out is that I know what you've been saying this whole podcast so far is that you appreciate the other side of life. You know, it's kind of like when you're doing it, you can tell 100% that you put everything you can into it, and you're enjoying it 100%. You're not taking it seriously, and it's very refreshing, and that's why. You know, I'm more than happy to play as much as I can, because I think, like I've said before, when you hear something really inspiring, it's always good to pass it on. And I told you before, I love to paint, and I've often, as you know, I've sent you pictures and stuff. I like to paint while I listen to your tunes, and I'm sure, if I ask Ryan and Rich as well, I'm sure it's not just a provincial thing. I'm sure they feel the same thing, because and I'm sure I don't know what they would say why they like it, but for me, I can speak for myself. What I love about it is it was so completely new and different, and that is that unique part that I liked about it. And like I said, and you can definitely tell that you put hours of time and your heart and soul on it, and then you got up on stage. And I thought, please don't take yourself seriously. Please don't be two boys up there really with your heads up your own arse. Please. And you weren't. You were everything I wanted you to be, I hoped you would be, and more. So that's how I feel about you. I'll let Ryan and Rich say what they want to say, but that's my point.
Thanks, Tim.
Well, I mean, I think it's, at a certain point, if you were to, say we're gonna, do an image and take that seriously, I think you kind of stop being yourself at a certain point. And, I mean, that's. Yeah, I don't know. I don't see groups like you doing that, or even wanting to do it, or even really thinking about doing it. You just go in there, you make the music, and whatever happens comes out. And like you were talking about the was it your the early UK references or whatever. Like, I wouldn't want you to do anything but that. I don't want you to talk about Taylor Swift and the most modern pop culture references, because I mean, really, when you're doing that, you're only just trying to speak to the lowest common denominator. You're trying to speak to everyone at the same time when you're using names like that. But then I feel like if you're gonna use a reference like that, and you're gonna say to yourself, maybe not everybody's gonna get this reference. I think that part of your audience and part of the people that you guys are specifically trying to reach might actually go out and look up that reference, and actually probably maybe learn something from music. Like, oh my God, God forbid you could learn from music. Oh Jesus, like. But it is those little things that I love about you guys, and just the small collective of groups that are coming out right now seem to have all that. Those little Jonathan used the word quirky, and there are those little quirks. Sort of that's what makes you you, and the reason I like it the most, and I think I said this about Stealing Demons, is because it's music that I would want to make, but would never make, just for whatever reasons. I don't have that. I don't have that UK quirkiness. So that obviously, even if I tried to make it, I would have to, make myself something. I'd have to study it and really try to say what I was just saying earlier, which would have to become, an image, and, try to present myself a certain way. And, I'd be thinking in the back of my head, like, oh, would they do this in the UK? Like, I don't know. I have to look this up. Like, but yeah. So even
I would love to see it, though, Ryan. I would love to see it.
Anyway, please do it anyway.
Yeah. Well, there was one. I loved it on what was it? I think it was Man Stroke Woman, where the guy would play. He was playing with a jazz band, and like the band would start playing, and he would always say something really weird about one of his songs, but he would do it in this sort of jazz lounge way where the band starts playing, and he's like, I want everyone to know that this song's about my kid that I found out really isn't my kid, and I just want everyone to know that, my eyes are lifeless when I sing this song because he's a little bastard. Hit it, and then he'd be like, "Hit it, Johnny," and the band would start playing, and like it is these sort of unique quirkiness things that I think we all have and we all do, and that's what makes us original. And I don't want to say exploit that, but to do that and to go out there and be yourself and not really give a shit if everyone's gonna get everything that's going on and all the references and all that stuff. You want to attract a smart audience. A smart audience is going to go out there and do some research, as Rich did with Cotton Mather.
I never would have known your contemporaries. Oh, I'm sorry. So, yeah, and I actually didn't get that when I was asking you about why you actually had Cotton Mather referenced in there, but that's okay. But what I would say about the music, though, what was it you said, the master class that you took? What was that? The name of the group that organized that?
Hip hop dancing.
It's called Generator.
Generator. How did they really get into how to market yourselves? Is that what that was about? A lot of it.
Yeah, it was Generator, the group that funded it. But the guy who did the class was he's like a music journalist and
I don't know if you still have contact with him, but it's a really one of the ways in the future going forward that people are going to monetize their art is by allowing people to donate immediately with I don't know how familiar you are with cryptocurrencies, but right now it's a simple QR code. You put it on your Facebook page, you put it on your Bandcamp page, and people who said, I downloaded that song, I like it. I know you have it set up right now where people can donate with PayPal or MasterCard, but that takes a lot of steps. And for the newer generation coming up, they're not going to fool around with that. They'll have a cell phone with some crypto on it, and they'll just scan that barcode. And boom, send you $1, $2, $5, whatever. Nowadays they denominate it in coffee. They'll send you a coffee. They'll send you a beer. They'll send you $2. They'll send you $5. And so that's something to consider. I don't know if they mentioned anything about that in the course you took, but that's the way things are headed. And also consider there's something coming up. N99, which is something that we're working towards, is creating a on-ramp for artists to upload their digital content to the MAIDSAFE network. And MAIDSAFE network actually monetizes your efforts. It's built into the system. Anybody that accesses your digital content, it basically has your thumbprint on it and automatically sends SafeCoin to you, which can then be, turn around and trade it for another cryptocurrency. Or, there's different things you can do with that. There's also, at the moment, I was mentioning this a couple of podcasts ago, but there's a, what's that? I'm trying to remember the name of what it was called. WatchMyBit, WatchMyBit.com. At the moment, they're still in beta, but you can upload your video, and anybody that wants to see the video, they'll pay you in Bitcoin whatever it is you are asking for. It can be 25 cents. It could be $2. But it's so nominal that your fans will say, hey, I don't mind paying, throw 25 cents. Nobody's going to miss 25 cents to watch your video. That's the way it's going. And so it's something to consider, kind of keep on top of, and watch out for, because when the MAIDSAFE network goes live, there's going to be opportunities to monetize your efforts a lot more easily than has ever been done before.
Yeah.
So
I mean, Tim sent us a couple of links, like a video kind of summarising the MAIDSAFE network, and like a little blog post about Network 99. So we've kind of had a read, but I guess we're both technologically disadvanced, aren't we? So yeah, no, it is really interesting. Something that we'll definitely keep our eye on and try and be a part of. Yeah, I think I have to read it about 3 times before it starts to go in.
And the beauty of it is, by the time it becomes extremely useful, people don't have to be technically advanced. It's like the idea of, we don't understand HTTPS in order to send either an email. We don't know what's going on in the background. In the future, you upload your stuff. You don't have to think about it. It's automatically being monetized for you. So that's where it's headed. In the beginning, people will have to be a little savvy to figure it out and work their way around it. But I would say in about 5 years, nobody will have to think about it. It'll just happen. That's the way it's going to be.
Yeah, it's definitely something we'll follow closely. Stuff,
I think it's just one of them ones, and it's just in general. I just think the world is just moving towards a world where the people who are creative, whether it's you in the music industry or Ryan in the film, and Rich over there, he's the top of film who we are. We're moving into a world where, like you were saying earlier on, where you don't have to go through gatekeepers anymore. You know what I mean? We get direct access for what we do. And I think that's only a great thing, because I've often talked about this with Ryan before and Rich, is that when it's all started, this whole mad entertainment industry, whether it was music or film, it was set up by people just wanting to tell a story, and through music, or like you were saying with those big Hammond organs back in the day, or do you know what I mean? And if we can get anywhere, like you were saying earlier on, anywhere near to the point where I don't think the people in the music industry or gatekeepers or anyone that comes over you and puts stands over you, understands it. When we're creating, we like to be left alone to do what we do. We don't. I'm sure you wouldn't appreciate me sat in the corner when you're trying to rehearse and saying, and looking over you like a school teacher. We don't appreciate it. We like space and freedom. And I think any advance in technology that's going to help us move to the point where we become more connected and more ability to be able to create and, in freedom, I think it's only a great thing. I don't know if you would concur with that.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's bittersweet and scary as well. I don't know why it's scary. Why is it scary, Johnny?
I don't know. It's like the unknown or something, isn't it?
Yeah. But I mean, you constantly think things. Well, sorry, you clearly don't. You're much more progressive than me, but you constantly think that you're at the zenith of technology, don't you?
Yeah.
But no, it's something. In 10 years' time, things will be very different again, won't they?
That's the scary thing, lads, and as you know, everything has changed. We were talking earlier on about, real to real, and before you know it,
changing very fast, isn't it? No, very, very fast.
It is. I mean, it's one of the things I was sort of trying to say to you earlier on. I mean, I sound like a granddad, but I was in a band back in the day, 20 years ago, and we would have dreamed for all the, the equipment and the ability to put. I mean, the idea of putting your stuff up on the internet and where anyone in the world could get hold of it is still, to me, to this day, amazing. You know what I mean? It's amazing to think we live in the times where, as I know, I know. Right, well, look at this perfect instance. We've got, all 4 corners of the world almost. We've got someone right down by the borders of Mexico, right someone by near Canada, me in Scotland, and you on the over here on the East Coast. It's amazing how we're all connected, and that technology has enabled that to happen, which is just, it's amazing, really.
I miss MySpace. I really miss MySpace.
I think it still exists, doesn't it?
Yeah. Oh yeah, but it's awful now. It's really. It looks bad, I don't even. You go on there and I don't even know how to get around it. It's just, I mean, it's awful. I mean, I've still got loads of music on there because I've never removed it.
You don't know how to take it off. That's how bad it is.
But yeah, what's my password? Anyway? But it was like the great thing about it was when everyone was on it, it was really interactive and it was so new that you could listen to someone else's music. Instantly, and only through that I've met a few friends, really.
It's the Arctic Monkeys and MySpace for me. I mean, that kind of whole thing where they literally one day they were uploading stuff and then they played a festival and there was like 2,000 people to see them and they'd never sold a record or whatever. That's more roughly the story of the Arctic Monkeys and MySpace, and they were they the band that that were made by the obviously they had talent.
They put all the demos up for free to download on
Yeah.
there.
And that people interacting was the first I had heard of that, really, I guess.
Yeah. That'd be like, you could pick your 10 favourite friends and you could put them up there.
Yeah.
And so your 10 friends would be people that you've never met that lived in, you know, Quebec, let's say. It was lovely. You don't do that with Facebook or Twitter, really, do you? To know where. I missed that little kind of that top 8. Was it 8 you had? Your top 8.
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah, maybe 9. It was a square box. Maybe
yeah.
9.
If someone put you know, I'm massive in Thailand.
What I remember most about MySpace was actually sort of, I don't want to say the opposite, but I remember hearing a lot of really, really bad music on MySpace.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah, I mean, but like looking back though, it seems like it was almost kind of what Johannes was saying earlier about the, what was it, I lost my train of thought. Oh, when he was talking about, you know, the people in the studio saying when music, you know, is going to become so easy to put out that there's going to be, you know, no filter and just a bunch of really, really bad music. It felt like MySpace was kind of that first thing where anyone who made shitty music, like, had a MySpace page. But then after a while, like, they stopped making music because of things like MySpace, where like people could interact with them and say, you know what, you really fucking suck, and that's almost, you know, when you look on YouTube comments now, like that's almost putting it nice when you say, hey, you suck, like that's almost putting it nice compared to what some people on YouTube say. The comments they put on there is just, it's unfiltered, uncensored, like, you know, you know, when somebody gets anonymous behind a screen name or just some sort of fake moniker, they're gonna tell you, you know, the worst things that you do not want to hear as an artist. So like, you know, when I go on YouTube now compared to when I remember going on MySpace, like, it seems like there definitely was a drop off. A lot of the bad people went out before YouTube because they couldn't even handle the, you know, MySpace comments.
Yeah, there was a lot of crap on there. There was.
Nobody else said anything bad about mine.
Yeah, well, I would never say anything bad about someone. I would just move on.
Would you?
I would just go to the next one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I never really. We just set up a YouTube channel after having aspect ratio issues anyway, we sorted it out. But yeah, we've never really been an active kind of YouTube user as a social kind of network. But you are right, people are horrible on there, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what's even with film, I don't really use. I mean, I put my stuff up on YouTube, but I don't really. You know, it seems like it's very kind of dead after you put something up there. You just kind of hope for comments or you check how many views you have. But other than that, it's just kind of, you know, kind of a dead end road, it seems like.
So you were saying that you're sort of like trying to find gigs and stuff like that. I mean, if have you played any sort of, I mean, it's one of the things I was fascinated to ask you too. Have you been to any sort of gigs abroad anywhere and seen, you know, a gig in another language?
Oh,
I haven't, have you?
I've been to Paris and seen a gig, but the gig was in English. But when I went to the bar, I had to point in French.
You had to point in French.
But I don't think so. No. Have you, Tim?
Yeah, the reason I say that because it's one of the things that you know, I lived down in Buenos Aires for a few years, and I remember seeing quite a few bands. It was kind of like a lot of my musical education happened down there because I got kind of quite pally with the DJ, so he kind of opened my eyes up to and ears up to a whole set of new things and experiences and films and stuff. And I remember he took me to a lot of bands and a lot of music I wouldn't really like. And I remember going to them, and a lot of them, the reason I asked that was because they would be classed in the same sort of way, very kind of quirky, especially in Argentina. There's a lot of tango-ish rap going on, so they kind of play in the culture of that. And I was always like, I don't understand it. And the minute I kind of understood the language a bit, I understood it all clicked into place. And that's why I was asking you. I was just thinking the other day, I was thinking, I wonder what someone listening to this in down in South America would make of Outside Your House, because they would get the music. I know they would love the music, but like you say, the English, and it's not even in, because all the time when I was down there, all the time we always asked, can you translate this, can you translate that, because sometimes it's not just the straight translation, it's all the things like Noel Edmonds. People, they don't know who that is. But so I was listening to the fascinating one. I was just thinking the other day, I wonder what someone like down in Argentina would make of your Outside the House. I mean, kind of. That's why I was asking if you've seen someone abroad, like, how it kind of.
I've seen a French rap band called the Science Supercrew in Sheffield, and singing in French. There's about six MCs. And my French isn't very good. I barely understood a word, but I lived with a Frenchman at the time. Like I shared a house with a French guy, and it was a phenomenal show. It was absolutely fantastic, but I couldn't hear a word. And I even listened to the records a little bit, but it's quite unusual, I would say. I would say that we pretty much. What we're talking about now? Oh yeah, pretty much. I only listen to English language stuff, to be honest. A little bit of French speaking things in there, but the lyrics are that important, I kind of think I would struggle to, listen to appreciate a brilliant German band because I wouldn't be able to understand the German,
Yeah.
Have you heard of the Knot Twist? No Twist.
Yeah, the Knot Twist.
Yeah. They're a phenomenal band, German band, I think, aren't they? But they sing in English. You think, I wonder how well they go down in Germany, or do they have German tracks, or have they made like a career decision to think, well, the music that they like in the audience and the community that they want to kind of promote their music in is an English-speaking one, so they've gone down that route, or I don't know.
Well, that happened a lot. It's fun that you mentioned that, because that was one of the things that when I lived down in BA, a lot of people, the sort of people who like bands, because a lot of bands down there will get kind of a, kind of a bit of a following down, especially in Wales areas. So they would get a crowd going, and they would get their own little following going, and then they would get obviously picked up by one of the multinationals like Sony. And then they would and then instantly, all they would do was just be singing in English, and it used to really annoy the audience. It's like, what? So no longer you're not singing in Spanish anymore. You're now singing completely, South America, South sort of like Californian English. So yeah, I don't know what it's like with the Knot Voice, but I can imagine that you would be annoyed, wouldn't you? It'd be like somebody hearing the Demons. They go over to Paris for 6 months, and then they come back and their next album's in French, and you'd be like, or like when George returns from China.
Yeah, George.
That's what I'm saying. The next
George comes over rapping Chinese.
Yeah, exactly, man. We don't understand a word of it. We're like, what? And they're like, right, so So it must be that.
It's so deep you can't understand it.
I was my ex-girlfriend at the time when we were going out, she was my girlfriend, was Dutch, and I did think about doing a tune in Dutch, at one point, but it never really quite happened.
Were you taking lessons at one point?
Yeah, a little bit. Forgotten it all, Johnny.
Yeah, okay.
Forgotten it all.
Do you know the best way I found of learning? It's quite ironic because it's like the guy I kind of, my sort of best friend down there, he was a massive, ironically enough, and I confess now I'm not a fan of the guy's music, you two are, but he was a huge Elvis Costello fan, and he had learned English by just through Elvis Costello. So he always had, his English words were all based around how, and I didn't really realise this until I listened to the CD, that, actually you're speaking as actually he pronounces some of the words, and he's got quite a peculiar way of singing as well. Like I say, I'm not a fan, but it's quite funny, like you say, how language can play a massive key in bringing people together. Really.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's a lot of kids in countries. I went to Morocco on holiday, and there was kids there that would want to help them with their English, and they would pull out like I remember one kid pulled out a copy of the Real Rock set, and then started reading to me. It must have been love, but it's over now, And I'm sure they must. A lot of people must use music and lyrics as a way, and film as a way to learn the English language, I guess. Yeah, without access to teachers and stuff like that. Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. I say, I mean, I don't know how well we would go down in South America, because a lot of the South American music that kind of gets any coverage over here has got like quite a high energy, I mean, some of it's produced fantastically and does sound great, but because you lose that connection with the language, something as quirky as what we do, I think, would probably slip under the.
Man, trust me, they would love you. They would love you, man. I mean, there's a joke about when I first moved to Argentina. One of the first jokes I was told by an Argentinian was, he said, Argentinians are Spanish, are Italians who speak Spanish who want to be English. And from my time living there, that was so true. They loved anything English, anything. So, do you know what I mean? Just the fact you would come out and look like you do, they would love you for that, let alone if you played anything. So, trust me, I'm sure there'll be a big audience. It's like I'm saying, the interesting one that would always be interesting for me, where they wouldn't understand anything you were talking about, because you are very peculiarly English, put it that way. Do you know what I mean? I don't know what the two boys in America sort of felt like listening to them, but then you are very English in how you write things. You kind of poetic.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I have a lot of experience in listening to or hearing British accents, so it's none of it really stands out as, oh, this is this, this is this, this is this, So it's the only one really that I guess really stood out for me was Scroobius Pip, because that he was kind of like a Robert Leach. Lifestyles of the rich and famous. Like that was when I heard Scroobius rap the first time. I was like, oh my god! Like that. I just kept hearing that voice. Lifestyles of the rich and famous. And but no, I really don't get. Yeah, I really don't scrutinize between the different accents or anything like that. Life is people. So.
Yeah, it works, doesn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, I grew up listening to like the Smiths and the Cure and Depeche Mode, and it always shocked me when I heard them actually speaking rather than singing. I was like, whoa, because I didn't ever hear the accent in the singing. I bet when they would actually speak, I was like, wow, okay, they're not from the U.S.
like Shaggy.
Right.
when he goes from Mr. Bombastic, Reggae Fantastic, and then we's in the studio and we's making a song, and I don't know if anybody's ever heard him talk, but yeah, when he talks normal, he's a very humble guy. It's very.
When I shut my eyes, that was actually Shaggy, and that was amazing.
I'm curious. Did you ever? And this is to Jonathan. Did you ever hear Morrissey or the Smiths play live?
No.
No. Who's your favorite live performance that you've listened to?
That I've witnessed myself.
Yes.
That's a difficult one. I think I'm going to be slightly out there, and I don't know if any. There's a band called I really like from Toronto, Canada, called The Wood and Sky. They've been around a real long time, and I don't think they've made it to any level. I think they've been on MTV and stuff like that, and I know they sold a few records because I think in Canada if you sell 10,000 copies of your album, there might be 10,000 Canadian dollars to go out and promote Canadian music. In other words, to go on tour. So they're at a level, but live, they were Wood and Sky. They were the guy, the lead singer, absolutely mesmerising, beautiful sound, pretty Americana folk. but just beautiful. Probably influenced from a bit of Tom Petty, a bit of Bruce Springsteen, but very individual and just a lovely sound. And they could probably reduce me to tears. They were just so moving. I really love that band. And they played up in Sunderland, and I have a shop in Durham, and I shut the shop next day to go and see them in Leeds. And there was only like 40 people there, but they were just amazing. One of the best gigs, and not a big band or anything, but I really enjoyed it. Yeah.
You scared them a bit, didn't you?
Oh yeah, I scared them because I went down and gushed, and you guys are amazing. You know? Like, there's always every gig you go to, maybe every gig you do, there's always a crazy guy, and I was a crazy guy.
You were trying to hug them.
Yeah.
Why is this guy trying to hug me?
I thought they brilliant. You get your shop, and you came down, and they went, okay. So yeah, it was a bit strange. You did that. You did that with Y though.
Oh,
you scared Y.
I've done it with loads of bands.
It's super fun, you know. But again, like, you know, I'm terrible. Like, when I like something, like I like the Demons, I love them, you know, and I'm unashamed about it. I wear my heart on my sleeve, and I think it's so important to be like that in life. So, you know, so sort of, I don't know, and I don't really want to say what I'm feeling, and I don't want to. So we end up telling loads of lies, and you know, it kind of frustrates me. You know, I try and be as truthful as I can without coming in. You're an arsehole and you're an arsehole. I try and be as truthful without being hurtful as I can, because it's just so much bloody easier, and it's so much easier to say, hey, I really fucked up there, you know, that was my mistake. Hey, I'll tell you what, that was my mistake, you know. It's so much more refreshing for somebody to say that to you, for you to say it's so much easier than saying, oh, it wasn't actually my fault, it was this, that, and the other. You know? So yeah, I'm going around the houses, but I wear my heart on my sleeve about the things that I like, and I like the Demons, and I liked the Wood and Sky.
Yeah.
And can you find Wood and Sky? I mean, are they out there on YouTube and stuff? I mean,
yeah, there's loads of stuff. I mean, they're still going now. I hope they're still going now. I don't know if they again are living at it. They would be approaching that level. I think they've all got day jobs, but there's some beautiful. For instance, they go somewhere crazy, like on a ski lift, and they sit we're sitting in a box room in a ski lift. They'd all get out their little instruments and they do their tracks, maybe 4 tracks. And there's a beautiful video of them going up this mountain in a ski lift, just playing with a video camera in the corner, and it's beautifully recorded, and it's just beautiful to look at. And yeah, you should check them out. Yeah, I really enjoy it.
Yeah, apparently they uploaded something to YouTube on October 6th of last year, so they do have some recent work that was just put out.
Good.
Nice. Yeah, Canada's put out some.
Just 2 or 3 albums out.
What's that?
They've got 2 or 3 albums.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, 3 albums. Yeah. But those are the good videos. They're staying in youth hostel and they'll just sit on their bunks, you know, in a corner or in a van, or just go and stand in the middle of a cornfield and just play the song, and it just works so well. It's just amazing.
Oh, there's nothing like spontaneity, is there? Do you know what I mean?
What about your favourite? Oh, has there been too numerous to mention?
Oh, Johnny's asked me what my favourite. It's a bit mainstream probably, but Sufjan Stevens released an album called Age of Ads about 5 years ago. He went from releasing a couple of very popular kind of I think great albums that were kind of a bit kind of banjo and guitar kind of pop songs, beautiful lush pop songs, to releasing quite an experimental album, which released about the time, I keep mentioning it like I'm obsessed, that split with my last girlfriend. And you know, it was just a really important record to me. You know, there's an 18-minute track at the end of it, which I just think is just the most amazing thing. And he came and he probably, I don't know, I mean, he filled the big hall in Gateshead near Newcastle up here. But you still think, how did he make any money out of the show? Because he had about 12 of them on stage. He had 2 drummers. They were just doing loads of crazy stuff the whole gig. And then they played the end of it, and I was nearly crying my eyes out. And then the drummer gave me a double thumbs up at the end. But yeah, it was emotional. I think the best gigs. The other one was New Order. I saw New Order in '98 when they had just reformed, and I never thought I'd see them live when I first started listening to them. That was emotional as well.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan actually of that. The Age of All Lads. That was a great album. Did you guys hear the Sisyphus album?
Yeah, I mean, because the rapper Seven Getty that I was talking
Yeah.
about before is on
Yes.
that. Yeah, it's
Sufjan
I think the Sisyphus record, which sorry Ryan to talk over you. I really only really totally got the last couple of months, and I've been listening to it a lot the last couple of months. And like the production on it's just like ahead of the game. It's like 10 years ahead. You know, it's just a really lovely record. Yeah.
Yeah, that was actually Sun Lux. Do you guys, anybody listen to Sun Lux at all?
I've got the Lanterns album, which was his last one, and I really like that as well. But I haven't gone back further. Have you got any Sun Lux recommendations, Ryan?
Really, any of them. Actually, there's a really good live performance that there's like a whole concert of them in Paris. That I think it's like a half-hour long, and quality of it is really, really amazing. It's an awesome performance because it's just him, a guitarist, and a drummer. And even the way the drummer plays, like there's this kind of backbeat, like slow hip hop type drumming, but it's a little bit of a shuffle to it, and it's something that's definitely original. And he's just the sounds that he can play on his keyboard. Like he'll have one song will sound like an old jazz horn that somebody would sample on a hip hop song, but he's just sitting there playing it on his keyboard, and you're hearing all these instruments, and there's only a guy and a keyboard, a drummer, and a guitarist. I love all the albums, and then when I saw him and Serengeti, who you mentioned, and Sufjan Stevens together, it was like, oh my god, wow.
Yeah, they did an EP, which was a little bit hit and miss, I think. But the new record was probably the best thing of last year, I would say, for me.
I would actually agree with that. It was I bought it after hearing, I think, Calm It Down. I think I saw the video for that, and I was like, oh man, I have to have this CD. And then
That's a good track.
Yeah, that's man, to go from such basic, kind of just drumming, a little bit of rapping, and then next thing you know, it's just this, extremely plush pop, avant-garde, Sufjan, angelic singing in the background. It's just like, what is going on?
When we're mixing this EP, I find it useful to have other tracks, professionally mixed tracks in there to kind of compare to, and I think Rhythm of Devotion and Dishes in the Sink off that Sisyphus record, those two tracks I've got, so I can flip to them and just flip back and forth and think sonically, are we in the same area? And although I'm nowhere near the talents of Serengeti, I try and make it sound not a million miles away from where his voice is sitting. And Johnny as well, with his Johnny does a lot of our choruses and hook lines, especially on the new EP. I'm not mixing it like as plush as that record is with Sufjan Stevens kind of vocals, but it's trying to get a bit of a harder hitting feel to it, like that, I think.
Yeah. We use it as a reference.
Yeah. I mean, it's not going to sound anything like Sisyphus, but you want to be able to think, am I hitting the right bits? Am I sonically getting it in the right area? Are we using that as a bench, really? Yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's always good to have something besides your own. Stop thinking. Once you think you're at the top and you know what you're doing. Yeah, it's just like Young Father said about genrealizing yourself. Like you basically kind of kill yourself when you think I'm the top. I know what I'm doing.
We are this. Yeah.
Yeah, we don't know what we're doing.
It's the first sign of intelligent man.
I think also we're still at the thing where we think every new track's the best thing we've ever done, aren't we? So hopefully that'll won't stop.
Yeah.
Hey guys, I gotta head out. It was really great hanging out with you.
Yeah.
See you, Rich.
Love to chat, Rich.
See you later, Rich.
Yeah.
All right, you take care.
See you later, Rich. Okay.
Bye.
Well, that seems it's almost a good time to wrap this up anyway. My sort of final question I like to put to you lads is, have you got a working name for the EP yet?
Sorry, you broke up. Was that? Have we got a working name for the EP?
Yeah.
Yeah. We think it's probably going to be called The Ones That Left Town EP. Yeah. I think we're pretty settled on that. Yeah.
Is it The Ones That Got Away?
No.
Okay.
You said that. Oh, the other thing to mention before we go is you were saying like what have we got coming up. I'm doing a track with Jonathan with Wighead.
Fantastic.
So that's getting there really. It's not far at all, so hopefully that'll be out.
Well, on that very subject, Ryan's doing the tune with Wighead, so Wighead's sort of like cooperating with us all around here, really.
Yeah.
I saw that, Ryan, on the Twitter sphere. Yeah. How's your track going?
Oh, it's going well. Definitely, it's a weird one, but like you said, everything you do, you feel like it's the best, and that's every time I do something, I feel like it's new and different. I'm stepping out of my boundaries, so yeah, I'm definitely excited about it.
Yeah, I look forward to hearing it.
So I'm gonna play a track off Before I Got Fat. So I mean, since you're on the here, what tune would you like me to play out with, lads? I mean, you can have any of your tunes.
Well, can I ask one question?
Ryan, you can ask anything you like, my man.
Where did the name Outside Your House come from? Because it's a great name. I think it evokes a couple of different emotions in me, and there's a couple of different ways I think of taking the name. Yeah, I kind of wondered how that came about.
Thanks, Ryan. Yeah,
beauty of it, isn't it?
There is totally. Yeah, there's a sinister and a positive way you can look at it. There was an early track which we did, which may yet come out. Bags of Sugar, and there was a line in it which was something like, "My moods are conducted by the weather, so when it snows, I tiptoe softly past your house." And
good one.
so that was we were kind of excited about the first couple of tracks we'd put together when we were out the back at the pub, kind of thinking about it, and I think it came from that line. We
were doing a classic in the pub. We need a name, it descends into chaos and comedy and the most ridiculous names you could come up with. But that line just came up.
Yeah.
Hold on, whoa.
And it kind of felt
Outside your house, like that.
Your lady friend, Bon, you've said that sounds good. She's got a good taste on stuff. So it could be like a positive memory of stuff that's happened, in that area, or it could be a bit more sinister. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, you say it's a good name, and thanks for that. But you always have doubts, don't you, about names?
Yeah, I tend to think a name, you kind of become the name. I've always said if somebody said, "Oh, hey, I'm going to get a band together, and we're going to call it Nirvana," I'd be like, yeah. or Oasis. That sounds like a chip shop, man. Really, it's like a massage parlor or something. I don't want to be called that. And you are a name, and you become that. It becomes bigger than you almost. So I weren't too worried about it, and I think it sits well with us. It seems to fit.
Yeah, there's no connection to the 1660s or anything.
No. Well, it's always fascinating me, that very thing, because how many bands would have been called The Doors or The Kiss before Kiss came about or The Doors came about? But there's obviously one. So it's always a random night. And I remember when as you know, we're probably all in the same sort of boat here, trying to find names for tunes, albums, EPs, or let alone band. It's one of the most fraught tasks you'll ever do in your life.
Yeah, no, I mean the Beatles is this poor name, really, when you actually stop and think about it. If you take that memory of that super group out of the equation, just say the name that it's beaten, it's BEAT, isn't it? As well. Yeah. That's a piss poor name, but it's massive. It's ingrained in our psyche, that name. We accept it as being brilliant.
Can I just we're getting near the end. Can I just say my first ever band's name? We put our finger in the dictionary twice, and we were called the Adventurous Hazelnut.
That sounds alright, man. That's not too bad.
There's a lot of bands getting back together, and I think the Adventurous Hazelnut should get together and do another tour.
Yeah, I can see plenty of adverts on the back of that, man. Do you know what I mean? I can see there's a definite chocolate spray company. I think will definitely be after you.
Hey. Are we picking a song off the EP?
You pick it, yeah.
Oh crap.
If you,
Probably.
Can I late nights? Is that
We
right?
can-
Because I love the line. I love the line. Fortified wines from fortified islands flow through my veins and dismantle my defences. It's absolute genius.
I was gonna ask you, what's the sort of story behind that song?
The chorus bit's mine. The chorus bit's mine, and that was some of the only lyrics I put to it. And it is, buy me a glass, I need to unwind. I need a cigarette, do we have time? Those things will kill you, they are a curse. Well, I think that life will get you first. And that's me and my partner. We've been together a long time. And just memories of the way we talk to each other, and there never seems to be enough time. We're always flying around in the car. And she wants to have a glass of wine, and I want to have a cigarette because I need to unwind. And one of us will say, well, those things will kill you, they're a curse, cynical. And my partner's sort of thing she says is, well, I think life's going to get you first anyway. Let's get me happy life, and you laugh. And those will be my memories in old age of our kind of our relationship, I guess. So it's really a few lines that are really close to me, to my heart, I guess. And then coupled with, I love that fortified lines.
And the verses are just what goes through my mind when I've had 3 glasses of port on a weeknight.
Well, I mean, definitely people go and check them out on Outside Your House on YouTube. Definitely go and check them out on Bandcamp. Definitely go and check them out on Twitter. Go and find them out, explore them. Just put them in. You can't even do those things. Just put them Outside Your House music band into Google. You'll find them. But go and find them, check them out. Some fine pieces of tunes out there. We'll definitely have to get you back on the podcast again, lads. When the EP's, a few months down the line, and we'll,
Thanks for letting us talk about ourselves for 2 hours, and being interested and supporting us, guys. It means a lot. Really.
As I said before, it's just all I do is I just point in direction towards all this talent. My part in it is very minimal. It's the stuff that's rising, and I've said before in this podcast, you're definitely part of this whole new thing rising, and like I said, I'm looking forward to having you back on, and we're hear the new tunes. But from tonight, from the rather windy Scotland, and I'll say good night, and life is people, and Ryan. Good night, Ryan.
See you, Ryan.
See you guys. Nice talking to you. Great having you on, man.
This is Late Nights by the excellent Outside Your House. Thanks for coming on, lads, and we'll speak soon. Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
No worries. We'll speak soon. Life is people.
Hold the sign and keep swelling and creaking with each tide of nervous inhale. Head pushed into a oxygen to ever fail. Fortified wines from fortified islands flow through my veins and dismantle my defences. Feel like friends with tiny minds, watching while I sit and cry. Lively in the distance, but it's your turn to call. I need a glass, I need to unwind. I need a cigarette till we have time. Those things will kill you, they are a curse. But I think that life will get you first.
Where you go, I will go, and where you stay, I will stay. Where you die, I will die.
I never got a reply from the TV company. Read a sitcom that I half wrote about you and me. Suppose there were problems with the denouement where she left through the window. You don't build characters if they keep fucking off and leaving. I hope that I am happy and know that I'm to blame. People always say the same age they were when you first met them. Still with the hopes they had when they first met you. I need to unwind. I need a cigarette till we have time. Those things will kill you, they are a curse. While I think that life will get me first. Life will get you first. Life will get you first.
Where you go, I will go, and where you stay, I will stay. Where you die, I will die.